Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
How are you?
Good, good, good. Tell me. And how are you? So the conference was good. So
Thank
you
you.
must be happy with your success.
Yeah, very, very happy. As you know, it was first time outside Tata extract, and so initially, I mean, the AIMS team were not very confident in the beginning. They only thought it was just like a small half-day seminar, something
Yeah.
like that. I think gradually when they saw response from faculty, then gradually I built up their confidence. I eventually, with the help of AIMS director support, I think it turned out to be a very big event, full 2-day conference.
Yeah, yeah. I was there, so I know it. I was there.
You spoke, thank you very much as a faculty. So yeah, I mean, I mean, that's what I've done as you know, for the birth defects. I've taken around the country, as you know, and also the cardiovascular I've taken around the country. But for the cancer, I was really confined in Mumbai. But now we can go around. I think, as I said,
Yeah.
conference.
Maybe next time Adiyar Cancer should do it.
Which one? Cancer.
Adiyar Cancer, Raja,
Yeah,
Chennai.
I I think they are a bit reluctant. Rajkumar is a bit
They,
reluctant.
Rajkumar is dull as dust.
He's
He
I think last time he was very very what I say not very sure actually. I must say the simple word.
yeah.
But members of his team that young girl
Yeah, she is good. Mehra.
yeah, Nikita, she's very very very
Nikita Mehra. The thing is, my student Vasavi was with him in those days which he talked about when he had genetic counseling
yeah,
once a week on Saturday.
okay.
And we were not happy at all. We said, what's the point of having a genetic clinic once a week
Hmm.
for half a day? But he didn't want anything more.
Yeah, well, we'll think about that. I mean, it's going to be by biennial, every 2 yearly, because every yearly very difficult to organize. Uh,
Yeah.
Other things also to
Yeah. Another place is Bangalore. They have a HCG there, which
yeah.
is a very comprehensive private cancer clinic.
When at the same time, I really want to go to places which are big coming up, like new aims institutions. I mean, the
But
aim.
nothing is happening there. I know lots of aims, but they're still at the undergraduate level. They don't have that super specialty level.
I
So they're, yeah.
to take time. Well,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Thank you very much for joining today. As you know, this is a I have developed, my foundation, the Genomic Medicine Foundation. You have taken part in the genomic education program, which is called Global Consortium for Genomic Education. Other projects are UK-India Genomic Medicine Alliance, which we'll talk today, and also the Global Familial Heart Challenge and
Yeah.
the cardiovascular. In fact, as you know, the next week, the PGI is hosting the
Yeah,
cardiovascular.
I know 27, 28. Yeah.
That's a must attend, very lovely program and very strong faculty again. And so these are the program which are part of the
Unfortunately, sir, the exactly overlapping with it is the eye genetic conference where Australia, India, UK, US are involved. So the timings are from 4 to 8.
who is hosting that
LV Prasad.
in Hyderabad.
No, no, same webinar. It is,
I know, but
hosted.
yeah, Abhi Prasad in Hyderabad, you said.
Yes, LV Prasad in Hyderabad.
I know that institute. Well, yeah, I mean I didn't know that. It was very difficult to. So let's see. I think these are specialized areas which are very important, and those who are interested, those from the cardiology community, hopefully will join. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So coming back to say what I'm doing now, what we are doing in this foundation. we are developing an academy,
Yeah.
the international, global academy of people who are geneticists, genetic counselors, genome scientists, from all over the world. So within from India, I have selected 8 people, very senior people, and because they have got about 30 years of background experience, not like 10 years, and
Yeah.
so they have seen the world, they have grown with a specialty.
Yeah.
So they have seen from already karyotype analysis, they have grown,
Yeah.
they have come to now genome sequencing. That's my
Correct.
that's my criteria. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you are included in that.
Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you very much. So last week I interviewed Thangraj,
Okay.
and before that I interviewed Narendra Mehra,
Okay.
and then others are I can tell you Ishwar Verma, Samir Brahmachari, you know,
Okay.
Pichappan. These are people
Oh, yeah.
who really created the Indian genetic scene.
Yes. Yes.
What is today? I'm not going to talk about people who are very fresh. They are in clinical genetics, and like Sanjay Gandhi and all those departments. So they're doing good job. I think it's still, they're very young compared to other people. So what I thought I would just request you to really share something about your early schooling, early life, and just take us through, because this is being recorded and it will be posted on the website, and so people will be looking at who is Dr. Annie Hassan, what has she done. So it's
Yeah.
better
Okay.
to hear from person's mouth
Yeah.
rather
Sure.
rather me writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm
Okay. Yeah.
telling the people to know as if they are good, talking to you.
Yeah.
So just tell us about your.
Okay. I've been born and brought up in Hyderabad. My parents were from UP. My father came in much earlier, but my mother came during partition to Hyderabad because Hyderabad was an independent state. So her family moved here. And but I have always been in Hyderabad, and that's why I came back. I had my early education in a very prominent Montessori school called Tarapur Wala Montessori, and that's when I had second thoughts about having my full name as Khurratulain Hasan because I thought nobody could pronounce it. But my principal there, Mrs. Tarapur, said, no, always have a name where people will ask you twice. And whether they remember your name or not, they'll remember you.
Yes,
So I stuck with that name,
I
but
like my name.
yeah. So, but I did find a truth in what she said because uh, when I moved on to St. George's Grammar School, where I did my we were the first batch of ICSC and the first batch of ISC A levels. And every after that went on, I got interested in genetics at that time when I was in 11th and I read the first chapter called Heredity and Variation. And I wanted to do genetics. People misled me into thinking that if you do medicine, you can do genetics. So I was about to write my medical exam and I went everywhere. I went to All India, I went to Aligarh Muslim University, I went to Usmania Medical College, Gandhi. I found that nobody there knew genetics. So I got totally disappointed and I came back and told my dad that, Baba, I'm not doing medicine. I want to do genetics. And one thing was that I look exactly like my dad. And everybody used to say, you are exactly like. So I said, see, there's this whole thing called genetics, which makes me look like you, and I have to learn that. And he said, why don't you do, if everybody's saying you have to do medicine, why don't you do medicine anyway? I said, no, no, no. If I write that exam and pass, I'll be stuck in medicine and you will put me in some pediatrics cardiology. I'm not getting into this. So I then learned that there is masters in genetics. That was in three places, Andhra University, Usmania University, Hyderabad, and Bhopal University. The
Bhopal.
human genetics, yes. These were the three places. And so I thought I have to go through BSc with botany, zoology, chemistry, because only then I'm eligible to do genetics. So then I got into masters in genetics. I did BSc from Women's College, uh, Hyderabad. Then went on to Usmania University, where I did my master's in genetics. Also stayed on there with Professor Y.R. Ahuja to do
Doctor,
my human genetics
I,
with him.
I,
And we set up a lot of tests. We set up cytogenetics. You won't believe it. We did not have uninterrupted power supply. So we used to have a hand centrifuge. We never had a laminar flow. We used to clear one area, put a Bunsen burner, and initiate our lymphocyte cultures near the flame.
oh,
And we did not have a binocular microscope, so we had a monocular microscope,
monocular. Mhm.
monocular, and for that, what you had to do is you had to focus and then put a camera and take pictures and get those pictures as contact prints, select the ones which could be karyotyped and do it. Most of the karyotyping was done by eye. We used to do it by eye and draw it. Draws, we were told that you draw it like a clock and mark on, 12 o'clock, this is chromosome 1 on chromosome, like that. So uh, you can imagine our fascination when
Yeah.
Dr. Ahuja got us an appointment with CCMB, Dr. Lalji Singh, where we could go and take pictures of our metaphases
Mm.
without having to mark them with a marker pen and not knowing what we are clicking. So once a month, CCMB Dr. Lalji Singh would give us 2 hours where we would keep all our slides ready and go and do that. After that, I did a DBT fellowship. That was again the first year of the DBT fellowship. And there I would really give total credit to Professor Ahuja, because he told me, you must go into that. I said, sir, it's very well established that CCMB doesn't take Usmania University PhDs. He said, no, you have to break that. If you do well in that DBT, they will have to take you.
So
So
which year was that?
that was 89.
1989.
I started my PhD in 84, finished it in 89. And 89 was the first year when DBT offered postdoctoral fellowships. 84, I got again, that was the first year when CSIR had started an exam for research fellowships. So I gave that exam and got the CSIR, and suddenly I became rich, because they used to give, I think, 2,500 or something. And that was the year after writing the exam, they made it 8,000 rupees. So it was big jump for research scholars. So we thought it was really wonderful. And one more thing which happened during my PhD program, which was really, really good for my career, was that my abstract was accepted in the Human Genetics Conference in Berlin, and we had applied to CSR for funding. They gave me 50%. But my father said, even, until you get the full, there's no way we can afford this trip. So I had applied and requested them for the full. They said it will take some more time. So what we had done is I had taken a train ticket to go to Delhi, go to the CSIR office. And the deal with my dad was that if I get the full, I take the flight from Delhi to Berlin. Otherwise, I take the train back home. So went to Delhi, got the thing. So after Berlin, I had gone to France to experience something in the Infant de Melodis Institute. Did a little bit of attachment in Freie University Berlin. And from there, I got an opportunity to spend a month with Dr. Mary Lyon.
Yeah. In France.
Mary Lyons.
Was she in France that time?
No, Oxford, Oxford. I
Oh,
went to Oxford. Yeah.
yeah, I thought
So
so.
that was fantastic because I was working on X inactivation,
Famous line.
and to work with Mary Lyon, it's anybody's dream come true.
Exactly.
So she was fantastic, and she told me she was so soft, so gentle. She would. She worked very closely with Professor Catanact, who worked with the mice and the coat colors and all that. So I spent 6 weeks there with her, and then she put me on to her student. Mary Lyon had only one student, and she said that was because in Oxford in the 1960s, women could enroll for a PhD, but they were not awarded the degree.
Is that so?
Yes, 61. Can you imagine?
Yes.
She did that great work and she was not awarded a degree for it. And that's why she never got a faculty position.
Yeah, yeah, people talk about, I think if I can just interrupt, I mean, I remember I met her very early stage, I think it was 1982. I joined Sheffield Medical Genetics in 1980, August, I remember.
Yeah,
So my first clinical genetics society meeting was in Glasgow, no, London. So I met Dr. Mary Lyon, and and at that time, to be honest, I could not grasp properly the theory of lionization,
yeah,
X chromosome inactivation. My boss, who actually worked with Mary Lyon in London at UCL, I think he was from the same kind of age era. I mean, so he used to really enjoy teasing me because he thought I was very poor in he knew that I was good in the clinical medicine, but he always enjoyed basic science was poor. Anyway, I found Mary Lyon very positive about Indian. He's talking about the variation and all those things. Very brief talk. But people talk about Rosalind Franklin not getting the Nobel Prize. But what about the Mary Lyon?
I know. She deserved it.
Yeah,
She really deserved it.
what we talk about, and even at a very high school level, we talk about X chromosome inactivation, lionization. It's very
Yeah,
basic, but
I know.
that lady invented that. And people have found uh, multiple proof
Of that, yes.
in several studies. It is a course, as you know, it is a course for any BSc level
Yeah,
genetic course. So there is a tutorial
yes, yeah,
to it. But yet the lady was never given the recognition what she deserved.
yes,
It's
yes.
very sad. She passed away 2 years ago. And there is the UK, the British Genetic Society has started a prize award oration in her honor. So sorry to interrupt. Just carry on, please.
No, 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 no. It's interesting. That's how I think it should be a conversation rather than a monologue. Then it's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. I think we're talking about people like yourself, but there are many people who did so well, but they didn't get the recognition that they deserved.
Apparently, Ursula Mittwoch from Germany came to do her PhD in UK, and it was then that all the women got together and said, at least retrospectively, give us our degrees.
Ursula, of course, I remember.
Yeah, Ursula Mittwoch.
Very
Yeah,
terrible lady.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So then I spent some time with Sohela Rastan there, came back, and then I was with Lalji also, Lalji Singh also. I worked on sex determination, and we were looking at Y chromosome specific genes, and we had made libraries and all that. And that was the time when David Page in US, Peter Goodfellow in Australia, and our group was looking at what makes Y the Y, the SRY. And
Yeah,
then David Page got the SRY thing. That was in
yes.
1991, when I was with Lalji. And that was the time DNA fingerprinting started in India. We were doing cases. Dr. Lalji Singh had come back from UK, and we were there when the first blots were taken to the courtroom for Lalji to give evidence. So went through exciting times in the development of the field. After that, I went to New Zealand. I went as a scientist directly, although I went there because my present husband, then fiance, was in New Zealand. And I had told him that I'm going to come to New Zealand only if I get a job. I'm not coming otherwise. And he said, who on earth can, get a job in New Zealand sitting in India? But then it happened. In nature, there was a position in Wellington School of Medicine for a research scientist. And at an international level, they had advertised. And I applied for that. And I went as a, so once I had got my job and I had got my visa, then Zakir came to India and we got married and I left. So I reached New Zealand on 13th of, we married on 4th June, left for reached New Zealand on 13th June, and from 15th I started my work in Wellington Medical School.
Well timed, well timed.
Yeah, so it timed very well and it worked out well. So this is my, I think till marriage we call it early life. Am I right?
Well, it's up to you. I think yeah, these are all. I think we have created these boundary, which are very arbitrary. I think very
Yeah.
personal.
In India, that's how it works. In India, you take it.
In here, I think age and different demarcation of your status in life are very arbitrary or very personal.
Yes, yes, yes. Then in New Zealand, I focused a lot on pathologies of various diseases. We started with mostly oocyte regulation, then moved on to renal disorders, then to angiogenesis, and a lot of my emphasis on the role of extracellular matrix proteins in the structure and function of organs. So it was more pathology, but molecular pathology. And we worked very closely. There was a very good, we had a very good team, and we all were born in the same year, 1961. One was Rod Dunbar, who's now currently heading the molecular division in Auckland University. And Beata was from Austria, and I was from India. And we were both, all three born in 1961. We had totally different countries, but certain shared memories, like the landing on the moon of Neil Armstrong, the first time the television came, how it was black and white and turned to color. So this was all common. And we worked very well together because Rod Dunbar was a clinical person. Beata was a pathology person, just brilliant with immunohistochemistry and all. And I was the molecular biologist. So we did three aspects of various disorders, uh, and we, all three of us, left New Zealand after 8 years in 2000. I went to the US, Beata went back to Austria, and Rod went to UK. So we are still in touch, but not as often as we would like to be. Jim Neal was our professor and head, and Jim Neal was an extraordinary clinician. He was a nephrologist, a scientist. He would come before all of us, do his run in the morning, be in the lab before us. And he taught me one thing: work hard, play hard. Give credit both to your leisure and to your work.
Yeah.
And that was something new because with Lalji, we thought work was everything. Anybody thought of leisure, he was being frivolous. But Jim taught me that everything is important. He went to operas, went into paintings, music, get-togethers, as well as working. And he was there from 8 to 8. And he would change and go directly from there to the opera or to join us for a dinner or something. So, but Jim, unfortunately, collapsed and passed away uh, one day after my son was born. He came to see my son in the hospital, and we had a good laugh because he said, "Did you choose a name for him?" I said, "We are thinking." He said, "Why don't you name him Jim?" I said, "No, he's not as handsome." He said, "No, he'll turn out to be." So, so the first place poor Sahir, my elder son, went to was to the church for Jim's funeral. And my mother was furious that the first place you are taking. I said, "No, no, no. I have to go for Jim's funeral. There's no way." He was just a fantastic person, just fantastic. He had innumerable publications and so simple, would spend time with clinicians as much as researchers. And he would sit in the lab, look at our slides. Molecular, he was getting to learn, so he would learn the difference between genomic PCR and RT-PCR, and it was really nice. It was so I learned a lot, learned a new way of life, everything. Oh, the other thing which New Zealand taught me, and I think which you see now, even now, that's the New Zealand culture. You are totally encompassing. You if you see the prime minister today, you'll know that when she addresses somebody, she addresses housewives, she addresses students,
Yeah,
she addresses workforce, like that. So
exactly.
yeah, they give every strata of society that respect.
Mm.
And after Jim, Paul took over, and they would I would leave my children in the creche and go, and if there was a call from the creche that your son is not well, and I would tell Paul, uh, Paul, Sahir is not well, so can I go and see you tomorrow? And he would say, "Don't say see you tomorrow. You can take some work home, and please let me know how many hours you spent on it so that we can put it on your work record." This was so different from the Indian place where I was working, because they gave respect to your time. They understood that there are family commitments and all. And one more thing is, after I had my baby, they changed the morning meetings, which were 8 to 9, for me to 9 to 10. And Jim said, "No, we want you there, and you have a baby, and the social services of New Zealand do not allow a baby to be left for more than 8 hours. That's the rule."
That's good, very positive.
Yeah. So after that, when I went from there to the US, I went into a shock, because there was nothing like flexible hours for people with young children, nothing at all.
Very, very impersonal there.
Yes, yes. That was really good. So here what happened was, they said I had to put my children in preschool and after school and all that. I just said, "No way, I'm going back home." So I came back to India, and that was the time when I thought, uh, I was in two minds whether I should go back and join CCMB, CDFD, or some such big institute, or go into the clinical setting. I debated, and I decided that I should go into a clinical setting, because I thought whatever I had learned, if I didn't translate it, what's the point?
That's correct. I think that was a wise decision.
Yeah.
I,
So I wanted to do the translational medicine, and then I realized that I was stumped, because it was only small charity hospitals which were a bit into research, like Mahavir Hospital, which was a trust hospital, because Professor Ahuja, after retirement, joined there. So when I told him that I want to come back, he said, "Why do you want to come back?" I said, "No, I want to come back because I think I don't want to leave my children in, preschool and after school care. I would like to spend time with them." And also, I thought that it would be really nice if the kids grew up in India, so that, it, sir, that if they grow up in India, they can live anywhere else in the world. Correct?
yeah, I think so. You're right. I think I agree. I think that
So
applies to us. Not our children. I think because they born and brought up in UK, so I think it would be difficult for them.
Yeah, it's difficult for them to come back. So I thought that would be a good idea. So Zakir continued to stay on in the US, but I came back and stayed with my, and that was also the time when my parents were getting old, and I thought it'll be nice for my children to grow up with the grandparents. The other thing I thought is they would learn the language. They would learn Hindi, Urdu, Telugu, because every language opens up a new culture.
Yes.
Literary culture, culture through films, through all that. And that was a period when my kids were starting to, you talk to them in Urdu, they would reply back in English. I said, this is the time they get back so that they can converse. And so I never regretted the decision. My children know all the extended family, because if we were in New Zealand or in US, the only people they would know as grandparents would be my parents, because only those people would come.
Yeah.
But now my mother's brothers, my father's brothers, their children. So I think they have a good roots here, and they had great attachment with my parents, and they know the language. In fact, there's a secret I have to tell, that they know reading, writing Urdu before me. I learned reading, writing Urdu recently. They did it in their schools. So
They,
that's,
yeah.
so yeah.
I think you certainly had a very good exposure, both family life and your good start in your New Zealand career build up. So that reflects in your present, your in overall attitude, and also your grasp on the basics. I think, as you know, many people who are in the field, medical geneticists mainly, they have a huge gap in the basic understanding. I mean, I personally, because I did MD in pediatrics, and then it was just uh, by chance I got into this field. But I really struggled. I must say, I had to really go back to revising meiosis, mitosis, and
Yeah.
so my boss gave me his lectures. I used to go attend his lectures in the first year MBBS,
Yeah.
and also go to lectures of the. I was in Sheffield. So Sheffield University had a BSc, very good BSc genetics. So I used to go and attend the lectures. I was allowed
Yeah.
so that I could get something about the basics. So that's I think. But you had a very good start. So
No,
just
but I had a tough start in the clinical thing,
well,
correct? Because I had to learn the words of a clinician.
I was coming to that. I think your decision to come to clinical settings without any medical qualification, only the basic science and molecular biology. I mean, how did you find it? How did you? Who was there to help you in?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was the tough part. So when I took this decision, I would be on mostly the diagnostic side, because diagnostics, all hospitals wanted diagnostics.
Mhm.
So I set up cytogenetics and molecular diagnostics. And as a trade off, symbiotic relationship, they would let me do my research and do my genetics and get into genetic counseling. So initially, we did genetic counseling with a pediatrician and me sitting together, or a gynecologist and me sitting together.
Yeah.
Initially, we did like that. Then after that, I was giving one talk on research methodology, and there again, my name came in handy. Although it was said that research methodology and publication talk by Dr. Annie Hasan, I gave the talk, and at the end of the talk, one person got up and said, "Khurratulan, Annie kab ban gaye?" So I said, "Oh, I didn't recognize." I looked up, but I didn't recognize. I said, she said, "You didn't recognize me." I said, "No, but you have to be from women's college," because that was the only time when I was known as Khurratulan, and I did not want to be known as any. The reason being that I could get away with murder without getting any scolding because nobody could pronounce my name. So my neighboring students would get flack, but nobody could call out to. Uh, so she said, yes, I was with you in women's college for 3 months, and I got the medical seat in the second list. So I left away. And then she said, there is a private hospital called Kaminini, and would you like to meet the management there? Because they are looking to start something new in genetics, but they don't know where to start. So that was my break and start in Kaminini hospitals. I went, I met the CMD, uh, Kaminini Suryanarayana,
Yeah.
and the MD, Kaminini Shashidhar, who's a doctor, and CMD is an engineer. And they took me around the whole place and showed me, and they said, you know, how would you want to start it? So I made a dossier, told them 3 stages of genetics, cytogenetics, counseling, and then molecular genetics, then fish. 3 steps so that they did not have to incur too much because they also didn't know with how genetics would pick up, but they had the vision. So again, we sort of had a deal. I said, yes, but you will still let me do research. So they said, yes, you can do research if you want to. And again, I attended every lecture on Wednesday mornings. They had a basic lecture of every faculty in rotation. And from 1st April 2001 till date, every Wednesday morning lecture, whether it's cardiology, neurology, pediatrics, I attended it. And one uh, promise I make, ask them to make is that they will not lump genetics with either pediatrics or gynecology. Genetics would be a separate entity so that I could interact with everyone.
That was
And that I think made a difference because that really got me in contact with all different specialities, both broad specialities and specialities. And then I started doing those tests which were good for one, like neurology. They wanted to do MTHFR. Dr. Jaydeep Rai was there, and then we worked on it. And when his paper got accepted in Australia, he was so delighted that he got into 50% research. He said, no, 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 I'll do this and we'll develop more tests and all that. Then there was Dr. JCM Shastri. He got me involved into transplant genetics because he was into renal transplant and nephrology and the role of ACE. And then we went into calcineurin inhibitors and spoke. So all my work was now translational. I would talk to clinicians, do only those things which were related to making them into either diagnostic tests, prognostic tests, and so on. And in 2006, uh, I got Kaminini recognized as a research center affiliated to Usmania University. And then we started taking PhD students from there. So that was there. And all along from 2006, I also got, and before that also, I always, because Zakir was still in US, I would go to US. I went to Sloan Kettering, worked with Professor Chaganti, had an attachment at Stanford with Professor Peter Maskowitz, and various attachments. And then in New Jersey with cancer genetics, because every Dasera 6 weeks holidays I would go. Zakir would look after the kids and I would do my attachment. So that kept me abreast with things, and I feel that not having a husband in the same field helped because he knew he could work from home and I had to work from a lab. So that was nice. We could
so that
work out.
was a good combination then.
Yeah, yeah. So we, and that was when Mahavir, Vasavi, and Kaminini, all three hospitals had diagnostic setups and counseling. After that, in 2007, when I went to New Orleans for the American Society of Human Genetics, in the mixer, I met two people, Maya Thangavalu, I'm sure you have met her at our conference, and Suchita Bhatt. When we were talking, they were surprised that there's nothing like genetic counseling in India. And they said, how is it? And then they were at that stage where their children were going into college. They knew they could never return to India, but they wanted to do something to help genetics in India. So I said, if you give me support, I will go and talk to my management and start the genetic counseling course. They said, can you do it? I said, yes, I'll try it. So they helped me got me in contact with all the Pamela Floodman, Ann Baker, and so on, who helped me get the curriculum. But I decided that I wouldn't want to do a 2-year course or degree course for two reasons. One, Kaminini management agreed to give me the support, but they were not a deemed university. So they couldn't give a degree. And I thought it's too early for me to start a course in a medical setup and ask Usmania University to support it. So we decided to make it a 1-year postgraduate certification course, and we got industry recognized before getting university and academic recognized. All my counselors got accepted in other hospitals or the diagnostic centers. And then from 2007, we started, and I'm still doing that, you know that. Other courses have started later. Now we also have in India the 2-year courses, which is one by Manipal University and another by NIMS.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but they take only 2 or 3 students, which is
which
a
is
bit less, I thought.
yeah, understandable. So when did you start your board of genetic counseling? I think that's what I'm
Yeah,
interested.
2014 we started that. Before that, I was trying for a long time with ICMR, with Indian Society of Human Genetics. I even uh, took up the responsibility of becoming a secretary of Indian Society of Human Genetics, thinking that if I'm on the EC, I may be able to push this.
So I met you, I think, when you were secretary of Indian Society of Human Genetics.
Yes, yes,
Was it not a conference in Jammu? I think I met you first time.
yes.
I remember 2003. That was my first meeting, which I was invited. I think that was really, I enjoyed the meeting. But then I noted some people had different priorities in human genetics. And so then I became more into medical genetics side because SSI all wanted me to be there. So that was a very good move. Your I think the highlight of like your New Zealand start and then genetic counseling certificate course and then moving to clinical setting. That was second one, I would say. Third one, the genetic counseling certificate course. And now the board of genetic counseling, which is a major move. And that is, I think, that requires, which you're doing very well. I know. I think, I don't know.
No, we wanted to do better, sir. We don't want to be satisfied that we are doing well. We did start with 5 to 7 people in 2014, and now we are 160. So it's definitely progress where we can be happy. But on the other hand, we haven't achieved yet what we wanted. We still want everybody working to come under that umbrella. We want the government to recognize it as a profession. And as you are aware, you have helped us a lot in getting Skill India, recognize it as a profession, get the NOSes ready. It is now with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. I don't know how much time they'll take, but everything is ready and with them.
Well, think that's the area which coming back to what I mentioned, Annie, about the UK-India Genomic Medicine Alliance, which basically uh, I started as Indo-UK Genetic Education Forum, which is
Yes.
which is still there, but only the education arm. But other things are also included because of genomic medicine being a very wide, field. And so within that, so my which I think has happened, as you know, Cardiff MSc Genetic Counseling, the world famous. Now,
Yes.
and last year we changed that to genetic and genomic counseling.
Yes.
So I have taught in that course for last 14, 15 years. And so when I left, I was still involved, but not actively. Then now we call it genetic and genomic counseling. We discussed that. I said, why you want to call it genetic counseling? Just drop genetic word completely. Call MSc in genomic counseling. And that's where people like Anna Middleton and
Mm.
Clara Cuff in Australia, and then lady, you might know her, B. Seeker. Have you met B. Seeker?
No.
Leslie B. Seeker's wife in NIH.
No, no, no. I have met Francis Collins' partner.
Uh,
He's Dana. No, Dana.
yeah, she's also
He's
involved.
the genetic counselor. Yeah.
But I'm talking about Barbara. Her name is Barbara V. Seeker. She
Yeah.
runs the MSc in the University of Georgetown in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I'm involved with them. So I think most of people are now dropping the word genetic, calling genomic counseling. So what I suggest that I think that is something which I'm organizing now, and you receive my letter for UK India Genomic Medicine Alliance, and then we'll focus on a few areas. I mean, there are about 10, 12, 12 areas. In fact, I have just only yesterday I you can see that document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've not sent that. I mean, so I've listed many areas in that, and
Yeah.
it's about 12 different areas. And so, and I think this should be like we can have a pilot project within your genetic counseling setup.
Sure. Yes, definitely.
Those who have done the genetic counseling course in your program, and those who are registered, and we assign them a genomic focused, program, and based on the outcome of that activity, we can make a case for genomic counseling.
Okay.
I think that's the future, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I did attend that course in genetic and genomic era. It was called Genetic Counseling in the Genomic Era by Cambridge, which was
Yeah,
that course I attended.
because that's what,
In fact, Shirley informed me about that course.
yes,
She informed me when there was, and then they were not sure whether they could take me because I did not come under in a very fixed category. But then Shirley said, "Yeah, just take her." So I joined.
that's also, I think that was run by Anna Middleton.
Correct, Anna Middleton. Anna Middleton.
Anna Middleton, historically, she started her career in Cardiff, and so when I arrived in Cardiff, she also arrived as a consultant genetic counselor.
Yeah.
And so I knew from that. At that time, she had a uh, interest in deafness.
Okay.
That's her PhD topic about perception, attitude of people and society about deafness and genetics and all. That's very. She's a very
Yeah.
thoughtful lady, very very smart. As you know, you have met her now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think we need to really build up more close links. So that's one of something which I thought I'll mention to you. So I think you certainly got what I'm aware, as you mentioned, you got very excited about AIMS funding a post of genetic counseling. I wrote back, it is a 30
No,
years.
no, no. Aims, no, no, not course. what I was excited about is that it's the first time that they've got a post
Post. I
which
didn't.
is,
Sorry, I meant post. Didn't.
yeah, central government post with a central government pay scale level. So can you imagine, in the whole of India, we had only one at Actrek Mumbai, and now we have one at AIMS Delhi. Can you imagine? We have only two central government
And,
genetic counselors.
yeah, I don't know details about this position in AIMS. Is it linked to cancer, or is it linked to clinical genetics?
That's the funny thing. If you see the job description, it has everything under the sun in one post. It has cancer, pediatrics, newborn screening, infertility, high risk, one counselor.
That's very good. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's
very.
funny, but it's a step.
Think very soon that person who will get a post. I hope someone from your group, one of your student gets a post. I just sincerely hope, because that person will start highlighting difficulties to deliver what he or
Correct.
she could be expected. Then very soon, the second post
Yes.
could be really, because you can't ask for more posts immediately. You have to really have,
Correct. Yeah.
when the waiting list is there and the workload is there and other people realizing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have written to Dr. Guleria, because I think part of this alliance is I'm going around, as I mentioned, as I said in the beginning of the cancer conference, we are going for doing MOU.
Yeah.
I don't know understanding. I've signed with Lucknow, I signed with Mysore, and also with Colombo. Now PGI in Chandigarh is having high level discussion.
Like if you want to do it with our board, it might be a better idea because then we have people from VIT, from SRM, we have, so let's do it with the board.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I've written to Dr. Guleria about AIMS, inviting AIMS to join us. He has not replied back. I think we'll require more, I think, persuasion. But I know within the Society of Indian Academy of Medical Genetics, there is a strong opposition. In fact, I would say some people, I would not take name, but some people who are very senior, they have rejected the idea of genetic counseling.
Yes, I know it. I know it too.
There is a huge gap in their perception. And
Yes.
you know, Annie, in 1982, there was only one position in the UK, part-time genetic counselor, research genetic counselor in Nottingham, because the person in charge in Nottingham, John Fitzsimmons, you may not remember the name, John Fitzsimmons, went to Calgary in Canada for a fellowship with his wife. And his wife was a staff nurse or sister in general nursing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So when she went with her husband to Calgary, she was not doing nursing, and she was getting a bit bored, to be
Yeah.
honest. So then the genetic counselor in Calgary told her, oh, why don't you come to my genetic clinics, my genetic counseling clinic?
Hmm.
So her name was Beth Fitzsimmons. So she started attending in Calgary genetic counseling. When she came back, she transformed completely, like you said, you know.
Yeah.
She said, I'm not going to go back to general nursing. Forget it.
Yeah.
Then she applied for local, she took time off and got a lot, was given one clinic a week kind of time.
Yeah.
And then started, then she got money for research genetic counselor. So then I also visited Vancouver, I think after a couple of years, and then somebody came from Calgary. So I said to my boss in 1983, 83, something like 84, I said, we must do something like that. So second post I wrote for
Yeah.
research genetic counselor in
We
my,
want people like you. We want people like you who say that they need a genetic counselor.
then after that, 1986, then the clinical genetics lobby, who are people like me, you know, medical lobby, and they came forward, you need genetic counselor. Then when became the doors were open, we had more positions in different parts of the UK, and but for 10 years there was no proper recognition.
Yeah.
Eventually, the National Health Service recognized, like you said, AIMS has done now,
Yeah.
and then we more posts are properly created, proper job description, proper pay structure, and all those things. So that's how we started. So I think I'm just giving
We are
people.
following your footsteps. Let's see whether the
I mean,
clinicians here get clinical geneticists
yeah,
accept or
definitely.
not.
Will certainly with the. Thank you very much for suggestion of Board of Genetic Counseling and MOU. Will
Yeah.
we,
We definitely do that, because then you will get more representation from the whole country.
we need that. Definitely, we need
Yeah.
that. And
Rather than
please,
just having a MOU with Kaminini.
other practical point, which is your experience also. Practical point when you talk about money, the economics,
Yeah.
it is cheaper and more efficient to have a genetic counselor than train a doctor.
Correct.
You know, you're talking about DM in medical genetics, and they become, oh, we are DM. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that, but the knowledge base of those people who hold DM is very low. Sometimes I wonder, do they know enough genetics? I mean, our registrar would know far better than somebody who's done DM in medical genetics.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be, I think that's why it is better to promote, like people like Rajiv Sareen and also other people are now beginning to realize. And I've said to in cardiology sector also, have cardiac genetic counselors, and they all agree.
Yes.
They all agree.
At least in the pediatric cardiology.
No, no, no. Every cardiology.
Yeah, yeah, every cardiology. But, we have so many children in India with cardiac disorders. So
And
once they understand that, let's go there.
what's very, very important thing, we should not say pediatric adult. You know why? Your
Yes,
your role genetic counselor where?
correct.
When a child becomes adult.
Yes, yeah.
So today's
No,
child,
because see, that's how it started in LV Prasad. LV Prasad, I would go twice a week, and we set up genetic counseling. And I immediately said, you need a genetic counselor full time. My coming 1 day a week doesn't work. Because in India, people are coming from Maharashtra 1 day, next day they're coming from Tamil Nadu to LV Prasad, another day they're coming from Rajasthan. Are they going to wait till Saturday? No. You have to keep the person full time there. Now Akhilesh is so busy in LV Prasad, but they gave us a room in the pediatric side. Fine, give us a room first. I think of that Virginia Woolf's thing, a room of one's own. If we have one room, then we can start something else from there. So then now he's so bogged down with pediatric cases that he doesn't even have time to go for RP in adults, retinitis pigmentosa in adults, glaucomas, nothing.
what the point practical point about the job description, which is very important because the role of genetic counselor is holistic,
Correct.
all for the whole family, for the all age groups. So if you have done work in, say, it's a child who is diagnosed retinitis pigmentosa or small dominant classic. Today's child requires education, so you have to adjust all those things. Then will become the adult and
Yes.
will have the family. So you have to take the similarly a child who is called a congenital heart disease, like a paleocetrology after operation, they can live. So transition from childhood to the adult is very important. So that
Yes.
transition can only be managed by a genetic counselor.
Yes.
That's why
Yeah.
I think we should not have a distinction, or you are a pediatric cardiology or pediatric this thing. No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
it should be.
Because you remember that's what my condition of joining Kaminini was, that they don't brand me with pediatrics or gynec.
Precisely.
One last bit I would like to say, I know it's getting late, but now I think my major uh, contribution at Kaminini was that every specialty recognizes that there is genetics.
Yeah,
Even if they forget something, if they see me, The other day, the cardiovascular surgeon came to me and said, "Ma'am, I was looking for you." I said, "No, you were not looking for me. You saw me and remembered genetics for one case." So he laughed. He said, he said, "No, there was a 30-year-old young boy with a big thrombus. Why did he get this thrombus? Because I don't understand this. The cardiologist started on thrombolytic therapy and he went into major bleeds. So there is some underlying genetic problem because on one side he's getting a thrombus. When we are treating him with thrombolytic agents, he's getting bleeds. So we had to do a surgical thing and remove the thrombus. But now we are worried to put him on any antiplatelet, anticoagulant. So can you do the pharmacogenomics? I said, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So what I'm saying is my presence makes them think of genetics.
Definitely.
The-
That's we need I think mindset and training and all these things will change. So uh, I'm very serious, and there's a lot of support. And at present now, my alliance has got about 30 people. You are also included in that, and from uh, many countries they're interested. Many that
yeah.
lady in cancer genetics, a Nigerian lady, Funmi. You remember her talk on the board?
Yes, yes,
So powerful lady. I mean,
yes, she is.
she told me when we met last time in Mumbai, she said, Devendra, she would be happy to be part of the alliance.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were doing the big book, remember that my big book,
Yes, 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 yes.
very positive. So there are people around who share our vision, our ideas. And so although it's called, I'm naming it India, but it's not limited to that. As eventually, India become, if you create a model for,
Yeah,
for developing world,
yeah, yeah. That should be the idea. That's the
that's
idea.
my ultimate aim.
Yeah,
Actually, you can't go to developing world. Developing world is there's no boundary.
yeah,
Where do you say boundaries is there for developing worlds? Today is underdeveloped. Tomorrow is undeveloping.
correct. Yeah,
So but India in the Western world, they are so biased. For Western world, they're so biased for themselves. Very little chance of getting anything. So it's better to really. India is we are in a very good position to take the lead, and I'm a person like you and other people also around. But I think we need to still. I think the mindset of I think this degree oriented. I'm doing
yeah. It
D,
should be more skill oriented.
yes.
Certain people have certain skills, and those should be really brought into. And that's what I see in the undergraduate courses of medicine, that they have 6 hours of genetics. What does that mean? This genetics has to be there in
Everywhere.
every clinical point. You can't just have 6 hours of genetics in the second year and forget it.
Well, I mean, I was invited on only 2 months ago to be part of a panel advising the new medical commission. MCI is now,
Yes, NMC,
and
National Medical Council. Yeah,
I was interviewed for that, and I have
yeah,
proposed a self-directed learning, clinical, the problem-based learning, you know,
yes,
and all these things I have proposed to modernize the MBBS teaching and training. And so the
yeah,
proposal is now being put together, and it's now gone for it will be submitted to NMC
yeah.
for discussion. But at least they thought about me and they approached me. I think that
So that's good. That's good. That's good to know. Now I know how to reach NMC.
no, I have no control, no contact. I think it would.
I know you don't have control, but if this somebody can put in a word, it makes a world of difference in
I mean,
India.
the document has gone. I mean, how much will that be?
Yeah, yeah. All that is there. So, like Skill India document, we are working on it for 2 years. You have given us a lot of support. We got a lot of information from the websites, everything. And now the document is ready, but waiting for ratification. And what can we do? You just see.
Yeah, well,
June it was.
we have done it, and we were just I think uh, privileged to really contribute something myself and Anna Middleton. I
Yeah,
think there's no shortage of people who are ready to help.
yeah,
But once we see that it will be eventually delivered, however small, then we are okay.
yeah, yeah.
It goes in a pile of papers.
That's waste. No, no, no. I'm trying to, because you met Dr. Anita Singh, who was part of it and who also came for our meeting, the Indo-UK thing.
She wrote back to me.
Uh,
Yes, she did.
she has now resigned from that position. But before resigning, she did tell me, and she gave me the contact of other people who will be there. So I keep following every 2, 3 weeks, what has happened, sort of. I don't know.
Yes. Before we just complete this conversation, I wouldn't call interview, that's I think conversation. So anything which you like to convey to people through this, like your major future ambition or major target?
Yeah, my see, two things I need to do now. One is to get the Board of Genetic Counseling recognized as a board by other boards like the Genetic Counseling Board UK, Europe, America, and the Asia Pacific. The Asia Pacific has recognized us and has taken the Board of Genetic Counseling Vice President Lakshmi has now been taken as a member, and one Suraj has been taken as a student member, and Sahil is serving there as in the EC. So Asia Pacific Board of Genetic Counseling does recognize the Indian. I want to make it also the regional, like the subcontinent, where it could be Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all the genetic counseling with all the cultural differences,
Yeah,
could become.
I think that's perfectly all right. I mean, uh, I will, because as you know, we call it AGNC. We have not dropped the word nursing somehow because there are still genetic nurses in some specialties. We want to keep it. So it's AGNC's Anna Middleton was chair now. The present chair is my colleague Nikki Taverner, my in Cardiff. She's also the course director for the MSc in genetic genomic counseling. I'll talk to her and I'll certainly explore what is the process for that. But what I thought, I think the recognition by the government of India is far important. And,
See, sir, I think the government, as long as the industry recognizes us and all the genetic counselors are absorbed either by the private healthcare sector or the industry, which is doing the sequencing based tests, NIPT, and so on, and they have a livelihood, I think the government will has more resistance than anybody else.
well, I think this is a good point. I can just share one thing which is very early stage. And Apollo hospitals, you know, in India, they are one of the largest, I think, private
Yes.
care providers. Um, so they approached me, and I've written them a sort of outline proposal, and and there's a possibility if it goes through, we want. I propose a network across India of genetic and genomic services
Okay.
with a with few centers like a center in Hyderabad and or Delhi or or Ahmedabad, that sort of
Chennai, they have a big center in Chennai.
yes, and there are 4 or 5 center and something like that. But the service what I proposed, the service would be provided through genetic counselors. I proposed. What I'm saying to them, do not create a position of clinical geneticist or medical geneticist. Train specialists like a cardiologist or neurologist or oncologist. So what I've said, okay, fine, you've got 10 cardiologists, only one person needs to have the special interest.
Correct. Yes, I agree.
That's what I've done in UK also,
Yeah,
different branches. So that means the person is trained already. You're just extra in input genetics.
yeah.
However, there will be a regional medical genetics center. They will also be welcome to take part. But the main service will be provided by the genetic counselor who will be registered, trained, accredited. And I mentioned Board of Genetic Counseling, your board. So that will be the way to take forward. And I agree with you that once the message goes out, that those who can afford to private healthcare, they're getting the service. Others are not getting, it's like Ayushman Bharat and all those.
Correct.
So
Then the government will come.
that then okay, 5 lakh rupees are given for healthcare. I don't know the system, but I've heard that. So eventually, when the message is, for example, I mean, I'm very pleased, that there is a system now. The enzyme replacement therapy can be funded by the government.
Only in Karnataka,
No, the
not
other,
everywhere else.
I mean, UP,
No,
UP claims that they're doing it.
no. UP, see, in 2017, the central government had looked at this Rare Disease Act and had said that they would put a corpus for enzyme replacement and, the high-end therapies, which are expensive. But they did not have the funding, so it was withdrawn.
Is it withdrawn?
So, yes, from 2017, we are still waiting for it to be, done by the central government.
I think that my point, Annie, is that if that level of service eventually, because it was available in the private sector, so
Yeah,
somebody government thought about it. Similarly, once they see it happening in the private healthcare sector,
yeah,
genetic and genomic counseling and specialized services like the cardiovascular genetics, then it will slowly get noted.
yes.
You need a politician. You need this thing. You know,
You
it's
need a politician with a vision or a politician with a family member affected.
that's. I think that's what I think. David Cameron's son, who passed away sadly, when he was our prime minister, the one who funded the UK 100,000 genome project, couple of
Yes,
billion pound. His son had a rare condition called Okihara syndrome. You might
correct. So
know
that's what
that.
I'm saying.
And then he knew it was so difficult. So
Yeah,
then previous prime minister's baby was born with cystic fibrosis.
yeah. See,
Yeah. And
so
then somebody else in the family, there was family history. So yes, you're right. I mean, that's
yeah.
where I
See,
think
Obama's mother had breast cancer, so that's why he got from away from Myriad and made BRCA1, BRCA2 testing for everybody. It is covered by the
but, but,
even the Obama healthcare.
but it was stopped by Trump.
Yeah, but now let's see. Now then again, Biden might get
I
it
think
back.
Obama healthcare, because I think people are dying because of there is no Obama healthcare. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Trump, I think he's gone now. Finally,
yeah.
even today I've heard that he's accepted defeat.
Oh, is that it? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
I just saw this morning. Uh,
Okay.
but the thing is that you need that kind of attitude. But before that, we need to provide the framework. We need to, like you have got a training requirement. If Apollo Healthcare hospitals, I mean,
See, Apollo, I have tried approaching twice. There is a thing called Sapien. There's one person called Jugnu, and she had approached, and we had gone through and made some things, but it did not work out.
the reason is because think what I've told them, the Apollo high level people, that please do not go for episodic approach.
Yeah, correct.
You must have a concrete plan, a structured
Yeah,
plan, every element looked at, right? Otherwise, waste of time.
yeah,
If they go, okay, somebody approaches Chennai or Delhi Apollo Hospital, I've just done DM, and they just take the person and the person disappears after 2 years. I remember Neerja Gupta, who is now in Delhi AIMS. She
Yeah.
she was in Apollo Delhi. She introduced me there for a couple of people. Then she left, and then there's no service left at present. So we will work on it. So I think there are many opportunities.
Yes.
So is there anything else you got in your mind? That's
No, and the other was that the other was this, that taking genetics, genomics in the public health, so that the community clinics like Lakshmi does for DMD, for thalassemia we need to do it, thalassemia and sickle cell.
besides.
We need to do it for disorders which are, long term. Cystic fibrosis is not that prevalent here, but it is definitely.
Just the model is there like a thalassemia, same model, same.
Thalassemia, yes.
You don't need to have.
So, yeah, so I thought we should go in for community screening programs for genetic disorders, get newborn screening, at least the 7 disorders which can be treated or managed. G6PD is, again, is very common in India.
Yes, you're right.
And what do we need? Nothing, just to tell them, just don't give them these things, nothing else. So if we have a good
I think
program.
there are many things we can do at the population level.
Yes. So
That
that is my interest, that taking genetics, genomics to the, see,
step.
from my research, I came to healthcare, and from healthcare, I want to go into population community.
Closing message, I think, which I just wanted to really highlight. The basis of genomic medicine, what we call 6 Ps, right? It has to be precise, precision medicine. It has to be personalized, right?
Yes.
And the person who's there should participate or participatory.
Yes.
You should not wait for complication to develop. It should be preemptive. You have to act now.
Yes.
If somebody has a mutation, you have to act now. Like you said,
Yeah.
G6PD, drugs avoiding. Then it has to be preventive,
Correct.
right? And
Absolutely.
preventive.
That's where the preventative counseling and all that comes in.
Finally, population.
Yes. Yeah. So see, before I heard your 6 Ps, 2 of them is what I am hoping for, because I think my vision is not as big as yours, but
it has to be comprehensive in one package.
yes. Yeah.
And
Pharmacogenomics also, that I've realized, pharmacogenomics, we did it and offered it. It worked very well with the transplant program. With cardiology, it has worked.
yeah,
Neurology, it has worked,
yeah.
but not with general medicine.
No, but I think if you look at all these, these big Ps, 6 Ps,
Yeah.
and I think that is the message we have to and every aspect of the alliance, which is my sort of ambition or our ambition, and the foundation's main objective. My foundation, Genomic Medicine Foundation, person who helped me, Sir David Weatherall, the man with thalassemia,
Yeah.
Before that, nobody used to take thalassemia seriously.
Correct. Absolutely.
He went out to India, to Thailand, Sri Lanka, I mean, that man did so well, so much for the country, for the society.
Correct.
And he was the one who went to WHO. Within a year of genome project completion, he went to WHO, and the first committee, WHO committee on global genomic health, he was chair of the committee. And then he told me, and about this foundation, and he was patron. And now the present patron is the world famous man of pharmacogenomics, Munir Parmohamed. Sir, he's knighted, sir, he's called sir. So he is now present patron. So I got people who are very serious people. Francis Collins wrote a foreword in my first book of genomics and health and clinical medicine. So there is no shortage of people around.
Yeah.
It's a question of we have to generate interest within India.
Correct.
Or in the subcontinent, I mean.
Yeah, I will definitely, we are having our Board of Genetic Counseling next EC on 12th of December. In that, I will tell about this MOU with this
Well,
organization.
I mean, before that, I will invite you to join the alliance as a
Yeah,
form.
if you could just send an email, then we could take it forward.
And
So
then,
before 12th of December.
and I will also, the MOU which I have really, other people have signed, I'll send you
Draft MOU, draft MOU, so that we know what it.
I can actually send the signed MOU, not the draft.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
properly signed, which we signed with the Lucknow and GSS in Mysore, and also with Colombo.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
one of the one I'll give you so that you have idea, and see how things go. I'm sure I think it will work out
Yes.
nice.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice talking to you. Thank you so much for.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I think almost.
You know, I have to, before I end, I have to say something about my students, because my students have, both my PhD and genetic counseling students, I think they have been the so-called ambassadors for genetic counseling in India. They took up, they had faith in the course, they took the course and have shown that they can work, promote, and get on. So they, both my PhD and my genetic counseling students, I think, need to be acknowledged for wherever I am personally
I think
and in professionally.
I'm sure they will find a good placement in future.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for,
Thank you.
yeah. Good
Thank you.
evening.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.